All right. So we're here today because Jen Kiggans couldn't be here. Republicans have been told not to hold in-person town halls and are generally hiding, missing. What do we prefer?
Where's Jen Kiggans? Hiding! Where's Jen Kiggans? Hiding! Where's Jen Kiggans? Hiding! Where's Jen Kiggans? Hiding! That's right, she is hiding because you are all here, and you have been here, you have been at her offices, you have been all over this district demanding an audience with your representative. And thank you for being here with us today.
And while she's been in DC, she's been voting against Medicaid, the Department of Veterans Affairs, as a veteran, SNAP benefits.
Does she ghost her patients too?
They'll have to answer. But we are going to go ahead and get this thing started. We are going to ask everybody, if you would like to speak, to please either come up to the podium, walk up to one of these microphones that are down here. Keep it tight, 2 minutes top, so that everybody who needs to get whatever you need to get off your chest, you're in the right place, guys.
But first, we would love to welcome Miss Georgia Allen, who you may know. And she is going to come right on up here and kick us off and share her personal story about why this event is so important and why getting your voices heard is so critical. Let's hear it for Georgia.
Good afternoon, everybody. She didn't tell me I was going to be first, okay? I always knew I was number one, but I didn't know I was going to be first, okay? All right, I am here today, not your typical speaker, okay? And I think we really need a clarion call. So I'm here because I feel that as citizens, we need to make sure that we find the people who live close to us and pull them together and unite. Because we're never going to win as long as we divide. We will not win. Okay, and we're fighting because we believe in our freedoms, we believe in our rights, we believe that everybody should be able to have a job. We should have money in our bank account and not up in must account, okay? We need money for our homes, our children, and we need to be able to fight. We are never gonna win a war if we're sitting on the sidelines. We're not gonna win sitting on the sidelines. So I'm here today to be the person who championed the cause for freedom, for justice, for equality, for equity. And I'm here to just ask all of us to just come together, stay united, because again, as long as we're divided, they will win. And so if we want to win, let's do this together.
Veterans are being laid off, VA hospitals are being gutted, and I want to know, Congresswoman Kiggans, how can you, a veteran yourself, just stand by while this is happening? We have earned those benefits. We signed up, we served, and we sacrificed. Now veterans are being told we're too expensive, that our care is optional. No, that's not leadership, that is betrayal. And what about our seniors? Let's talk about Social Security, because I've been paying into it since I was 15 years old. That is not a handout. That's an investment I've made every time I've gotten a paycheck for the last 30 plus years. My mother depends on Social Security survivors benefits from my late father. She was a wife and mom. She supported our family. She didn't have a pension. That Social Security check is her safety net. If that program is cut, sorry, I lost my place. She suffers, and so do millions of other seniors, many of whom have spent their lives doing everything right and now are just trying to survive. What's your plan for them, Congresswoman? What will you tell them when the checks don't come? And now we've got Elon Musk, an unelected billionaire, firing federal workers, gutting agencies, canceling contracts, and handing government money to his own companies. He's even being rigged into classified military briefings, waving around Nazi salutes on stage. You say nothing. You did nothing. Why is he making decisions that affect my family, my future, and my country when no one ever voted for him? And all this is being justified with the phrase fraud, waste, and abuse. Have you seen the data with your own eyes? Or are you just parroting what he says, even if it hurts the very people who sent you to Congress? Congresswoman Kiggans, are you representing us or are you selling us out? You stood on the platform of service, patriotism, and integrity, but now you're quiet while veterans suffer, quiet while seniors live in fear, quiet while Elon Musk runs the government like his own private company. We don't need quiet, we need someone to fight for us, and if you won't, we will find someone who will.
Hi everybody, my name is Alice Twining. I just turned 77. I've been here 35 years, grew up in a farm in Maryland that was very red. And when I was 9 years old, I figured out, I'm not red, I'm blue. So 2 quick things. One was, I didn't get my Social Security check. It was due on March 12th. I called for a week, and every time I called, they said, we're very busy, our wait is 2 hours, and they hung up. I went on their website, which many people can't do because they don't have good, Wi-Fi, and they said, your password is incorrect, we'll send you a link to fix it. I never got the link. All right? I have no money because I live on Social Security. So long story short, I finally got through on Wednesday, had to wait 40 minutes, but during that 40 minutes, I made lunch. Why not? I finally got through, they said, oh, this is very odd. We sent your check to your old bank. I said, well, you sent it to my new bank in January and February. They said, well, we don't know what happened, but we know they're understaffed. A lot of them are not well trained. They had suspended my account. They didn't do any research to find out what happened. So I gave them my old bank account number, my new bank account number. They said I'll get it in 7 to 10 days. I still have no check. Some people have been very generous. People I don't even know have given me money to buy food, my medicine, whatever. So I'm here to say Social Security is in a lot of danger. They're going to close about 40 offices. They want all of us who are already on Social Security to go into an office with our documentation and re-enroll. That is a pain in the neck, if you know what I mean. So I'm here to support Social Security. There are a whole lot of people in this country That's the only money they have to live on. The new head of Social Security said this week, if they don't get their check, they're not going to call, they're not going to complain. Are you kidding me? I will help anyone who's having trouble getting their Social Security check, all right? The final thing I want to say is, I believe that a community pulls together when they sing together. I'm an amateur singer. I'm going to sing you a song that you may have heard before. It was written by Holly Near about 50 years ago. And it's very simple. It's, we are an angry, peaceful people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a peaceful, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a peaceful, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. And the second verse is, we are all in this together. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are all in this together, and we are singing, singing for our lives. Thank you.
So I'm Gary McCullum. I'm a licensed ordained minister. This is the day that the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. From the rising of the sun to the going down of the same, his name shall be praised. First off, I got here a little late. My father-in-law is with me, and I'm going to point him out. On March 31st, he'll be 94. Stand up, Mr. Denton. He's 94. Korean War veteran. African-American officer, served in the Army. So I'm going to be brief, but I want to turn this way because I want Congresswomen's representative, Kiggans' representatives to see my face. Because I've called your office, I've called her office several times. She never calls me back. Never. She'll call Bobby Dyer. She'll call other Republican leaders in our district, but she won't call me back. So I'm publicly asking you to tell her, please take a picture of me, to call me back. Because whether she knows it or not, she works for us. We don't work for her. She works for us. And when you see the chaos and the mess that's happening in our community, I'm a former Army Ranger. Used to jump out of airplanes for a living, and I got the hip replacement to prove it. But when I see veterans who are being ignored, who are not being serviced by the VA, who can't get a phone call back, when I see friends of mine who have committed suicide and their spouses are trying to get benefits from the VA and can't get them, something is wrong. Something is wrong. This is not normal. And so I'm excited about this because as a person of faith, God has seen this before. Dr. King talked about Micah. Chapter 3, chapter 6. We have seen this before when those in leadership, they love evil. They actually love evil. And this is what we're seeing in our country right now. This is not a Republican or a Democrat thing. This is not a right or left thing. This is a haves or have not thing. That's what this is all about. some good news. Dr. King said it this way. He said, our days begin to end the day we become silent about those things that matter. We're not silent. Congressman Kiggans, we will not be silent today, and trust me, we will not be silent in November of 2026. Because you work for us. You work for us. You need to figure out how you're going to take care of the least of these. People that are hurting. People that are sitting here trying to figure out how they're going to get their next meal. How they're going to pay for some medication. How they're actually going to get transportation to get to a doctor's appointment. That's what we're talking about. And so, as my pastor would say, I'm happy glad. When I drove up today with my father-in-law, we saw that line. All the people coming. It showed me that we're going to get this right. We're going to get this right. And at the end of the day, the people of America are going to win this thing. Thank you and God bless you.
Who does Jen Kiggans work for? Who does Jen Kiggans work for? The people, united, will never be defeated. The people, united, will never be defeated. The people, united, will never be defeated. All right, everybody, I would like to take a moment to introduce my friend Michelle Ellis Young of the YWCA Southampton Road.
Good afternoon, everyone. I stand before you, yes, as the CEO of YWCA Southampton Roads. For 116 years, we've been in this community. For 166 years across this country as a united front, working on behalf of our mission, which is to eliminate racism, empower women, and promote peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And while I can't stand before you flat-footed, 10 toes down to speak on behalf of YWCA, what I can speak on behalf of this community is being the daughter of Loretta, the granddaughter of Maxine and Sereta, the mother of Kennedy, of Taylor, of Alitria, and of Reagan. I can speak on behalf of being a Black woman in community who has seen what this process of this administration has done to erase our humanity. And so while this is not the moment of a YWCA, this is the moment of women and girls in marginalized communities. This is the moment of those that have been disenfranchised. This is the moment of an American people who have lived out what Fannie Lou Hamer said in her words, that I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so on today, I come before you to talk about the issues that are most pressing that I know for women and girls, not just in this community, but across this country. Gender-based violence, pay gaps and pay inequity, those issues that keep us disenfranchised from being whole individuals in our communities. Reproductive justice. It is her right to determine what she does with her body. Economic injustices. It's her right to determine how she feeds her family. These are the rights that are most pressing for women in our communities. And if I put my hat on as a Black person in this community, voter disenfranchisement is our right to have a right to vote in this community. The right to breathe and not have a knee on our neck is our right to live in this community. Our right as Black people who built this country and showed others how to build this nation. It is our right to live in this country, the land of the free and the home of the brave. So I put my pocketbook up here because I'm a Black woman, and we don't put our purses on floors. We don't put our purses on floors. But I want you to know, I'm not even a pocketbook carrier. But since this election, I have made it a point whatever color I have on, y'all gonna see me with this pocketbook because this pocketbook shows my identity. You know, the Black woman with the puffs and the big hoops? That's who we are. With the big lips, that's who we are. And I want people to see that our humanity rests in every piece of what we do, whether we're being fashionistas, whether we're showing up to fuss in city council, or whether we're showing up in a place like this because all of you beautiful people are here. We are here, we ain't going nowhere, and this land is our land too. The last thing, I put my preaching cap on because I've served in 5 housing projects where I get to minister to people. And this is what I do know. My brother McCullum said, he went to, we always go to the book. And I'm Baptist, we might close 3 times right now. I'm gonna keep it short. But Michael is right. He tells us, what is it that the Lord requires of you? And that's introspective. We've got to search our own hearts. We need these leaders who are sitting in these high places to search their hearts, because what we're experiencing is not crazy. Crazy can be medicated, y'all. What we're experiencing is a heart matter. It's a matter of evilness in the heart. And when evil sits in the heart, it consumes the whole body. And it starts to erode your thinking. So this is no surprise to God. But what is it that he requires of you? He says it is for us to love each other and then to walk humbly with our Father. We're walking humbly today, but we also are walking like Jesus did when he went into the temple and the folk didn't act right. He flipped over some tables. So we're gonna walk humbly with God. But this I can tell you, we ain't going down like that. We ain't going down without a fight. And if we have to flip over some tables, that's exactly what we're gonna do. So let's flip over the tables.
Thank you, Miss Ellis Young. Another round of applause. Y'all, I'd like to introduce one more speaker up to the podium before we go back to the floor. Lachey Kelly Taliaferro.
Good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Lachey Kelly Taliaferro. I'm with Local 400 Union. Yay, Union! Now, I know a lot of you guys remember that song called Heal the World by Michael Jackson. And there were parts in the song where he says, people are dying. If you care enough for the living, make it a better place for you, for me, and your entire human race. Now, when I was younger, I did not fully understand the whole meaning of that song until I grew up and had a family of my own. 6 years ago, my late husband was diagnosed with congestive heart failure. He had just started working a new job at a mill, which was very strenuous, but the pay was what he needed to provide for a family of 5, along with my income. Because he had not been employed there for over a year, he had no insurance. And looking at his pay and my pay together, they said our income was too high. I explained to Medicaid that he was out of work and no longer would he be receiving a paycheck. It took almost a year for him to get fully covered. One of his medications cost $10,000 a month. On top of a heart transplant that he needed that was $1 million. That didn't include all of our bills. I'm sorry, I get choked up on this. We were such a young couple. I was able to send him to Duke University for more testing. He stayed at Duke University for 2 years, trying to make him stronger, trying to prepare his body for a heart transplant that we thought. But sadly, in August 2022, we got the worst call of our lives that they were no longer able to perform his surgery because they took too long to approve his Medicaid. Unfortunately, with that being said, Medicaid failed my husband January 21st, 2023, which was his last day on earth. The Medicaid did not cover the bills that accumulated are still open. I say this to say, the last thing that a caregiver or the person being cared for should have to worry about is hospital bills and how astronomical they are. One of the last lines I remember him saying with tears in his eyes was, "Why are you here? I'll be fine. You are the only one working in this household and we have bills on top of bills." Again, that should have not been the least of his worries. So please, if you have a heart, think about what cutting Medicaid can and will do to our world. And please be more considerate of others who are less fortunate. We all have a voice and we have to use it. Our children, grandchildren, and all of our families are down on the line, are depending on us. We have to continue this fight for Medicaid and stand up for our rights. Again, my name is Lashay Kelly Talafero of Local Union 400, and it was a pleasure to speak with everybody today. And remember, keep fighting for the healing of our world. Have a great day, everyone.
It breaks my heart that I have to follow that. My name is Heather Sipe. I am a 23-year veteran teacher with a master's degree, and I am currently serving as president of the Virginia Beach Education Association. We're a local educators union. Yes, Virginia, we have unions. The executive order to shut down the Department of Education is an overreach of the executive branch's power and an intentional act to bypass Congress, which is the only governing body that holds the power to dismantle the DOE. Our elected representatives to the House and Senate need to stand up and not as a cardboard cutout to this overreach and protect the institution of public education, our students, and our educators. The DOE was created for a reason. States were not adequately providing services and resources students and schools need to provide a quality education for all students. And the other departments were handling the distribution of funds for services for students with disabilities, low-income and homeless students, our military-connected students, to name a few, were slow-moving and inefficient. Sending the oversight of these areas back to other departments will create more hoops to jump through and more bureaucratic red tape, delaying the availability of much-needed funding. Further, the order threatens funding to schools that talk about, quote, inappropriate racial, sexual, or political content, end quote. Who determines what is inappropriate? Are we at the point in our society where disagreeing politically with the president is no longer covered by our constitutional right to free speech and freedom of expression? Let's talk about universal school choice programs. That's just a pretty fancy name for vouchers. Public tax dollars will be taken away from public schools and given to select individuals for private schools. These private schools get to choose who they accept and reject, and there is no accountability to the public in these schools. Please explain to me how a private system that has no accountability for student outcomes is a fiscally responsible use of public funds. Ending teacher tenure is another unconscionable act of this order. This means school divisions are able to terminate a teacher without cause, and the teacher has no recourse. Imagine investing 29 years of your life educating the youth with 1 year left until retirement. Now imagine a school district that wants to send money or save money, terminating a teacher without cause right before they complete year 30 just so they don't have to provide retirement benefits. If you think this won't happen, you live in an alternate reality from the one that I live in. As a single mother of two, my salary as a teacher after 23 years with a master's degree classifies me as lower middle class. That lovely area where you live paycheck to paycheck, I'm sure all of y'all feel that deep in your souls. Here's what the shutdown of the DOE potentially means to my family. My freshman in college will no longer receive the Pell Grant, and if his university doesn't meet certain requirements to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion, he will also lose the rest of his scholarships, which provide him with a full ride. My senior in high school will also lose the Pell Grant he's set to receive, and possibly his full ride scholarships as well. I don't know about y'all, but I don't have the money, with our student loans also closing down, to send my two boys to college. He will also no longer be able to receive the services that help him receive an equitable education due to his dyslexia. My career of 23 years will be in jeopardy daily if someone doesn't like what I say, particularly as I am a loud and proud public education advocate. States already struggle to provide adequate funding for public schools. These federal tax cuts will only hurt the middle class more, as states will have to increase taxes to make up the difference. Or if they don't, Virginia alone would lose approximately 9,000 teacher positions. 9,000 gone. These are our babies. Imagine your children in a room with 60+ students, because that's what it's going to be, people. The DOE does more than you think. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Martha Thoreau, and I'm an environmental activist. On March 17th, I completed my 75th spin around the sun. I think it goes like that. At the same time, there was a bulldozer known as the Beast destroying lands in Virginia Beach that belonged to the citizens. I bring this up here now because those lands, those 12 acres represent a small part of what's getting ready to be destroyed in our country. Turning over our national parks and our public waterways will be the utter destruction of human beings as we know it. I have a saying on my wall that says, "Be still and enjoy the quiet moments. For God whispers and the world is loud." It is indeed loud. It's screaming in pain and agony, and the people here, everybody has a story, and everybody is afraid, and everybody is united, and we don't want what the world is dealing to us. So stand up, speak your voices, because that's what God's whispering to me. I don't want to be here doing this today. I want to be out in the bushes and the woods. But it's necessary to be who you are and speak your truth to power. God bless you all. Thank you.
Hi, Burke Stringfellow here, Lieutenant Commander, United States Navy Reserves. So I'm a vet, and I talk to vets all the time. I talk to active duty all the time, and we are so sick of these politicians using us as pawns in their BS game. Like, they think that we must be stupid, you know? We're just gonna go with anything that you say, and Jen is the quintessential example of a politician that will pee on my head and tell me it's raining. Out of all the politicians I think I've ever experienced, I've never known a politician to vote so contrary to the interests of our people and what she's saying. She's a total hypocrite, and we have to hold her responsible. That's why I started to hold her responsible. I did a lot of research. It's amazing how hard it is to go on to look up the different bills and stuff. But I did a lot of research to just see how poorly she voted. And it's amazing. She'll say, oh, I'm for sailors, I'm for active duty, but then she'll vote against the Virginia Fairness and Lending Act, you know, Senate Bill 421, which, I mean, the main victims of that tend to be sailors, active duty sailors, enlisted young sailors, because they have a paycheck that comes every month. So they're usually prime victims of that. Why would you vote against that? You know? And then we all know about the continuing resolution 1-4 that's going to raise $4.5 trillion with the T of our national debt. Republicans used to say, you know, oh, well, we have to hurt the poor and the middle class because we have to be fiscally conservative. We have to save money. Okay, well now the national debt's going to go up $4.5 trillion. So what are we doing with all that money? You know, that whole second half just disappears, and now it's just we have to hurt the poor and middle class. So I think it's just completely egregious how she will vote totally opposite. She'll say she's voting for vets and seniors, and then vote absolutely opposite. I had to shrink this down to 8-point font. It's tiny. I'm sorry if you tried to read this because her voting record is really just that bad. So I created a Facebook page. It's called Primary Jen Kiggans Now. Thank you. And I have stuff like this. I have well-researched data, and we gotta hold her accountable. Please visit it. I started it because I was inspired by this event today. You know, so it's new, but please jump on that and let's talk about how we can change things. Thanks.
Hello, I recognize a lot of faces here. My name is Natasha Baird, and I am with the brand new, started at the tail end of January, Southampton Roads Indivisible. And I'm going to quote one of my favorite protest signs I've seen. It says, "It's so bad the introverts are here." So please forgive me if my voice shakes. I'm also a former teacher, notice I said former, with a master's degree, and I was taught that you start off with something nice to say before you kind of give some constructive criticism. So, I do want to say that my dad was in the Coast Guard for 26 years, and I haven't read it yet, full disclaimer, but I am excited about the Coast Guard Parity Act. I think it is important that they receive the recognition for their service to the country. So, if you were here in real life, I would say good job, but Cardboard Jen, good job on that one, I think. I'm not sure yet. I'll get back to you. On the other hand, one of the things that Indivisible tries to do is kind of bring people together with their messaging and with information and resources and work with other organizations just to kind of get people together. It's community building. And one of the things that a lot of our members were noticing in those emails coming back was, and even in some of her Facebook posts and stuff, is Jen likes to say, Americans voted for overwhelming change in November. I looked on the Virginia Public Access Project, vpap.org. Jen won 50.8% of the vote, which technically not 50.8, VPAP has 50.74, but we'll let the rounding error slide. About 4% lead over Missy Cotter-Smazel. However, Reed ran as an independent. So there was 46.9% for Smazel and 2.25% for Reed. 49.15% did not vote for her. 1.59%, 1.6, in my opinion, is not an overwhelming vote for this kind of change. Now that's all I had planned to say, but forgive me, Ms. Twinings. I believe I got your name right, I hope I did. Your story touched me. As I was watching MSNBC last night, I saw the information about Secretary Lutnick and how he was talking, yes. Yes, well, as he was talking about how, well, his mother-in-law gets Social Security and she wouldn't be calling. It's only going to be the fraudsters that are calling. Well, Lutnick is a billionaire, and again, this is Google research. Please don't quote me too much, but there are about 756 billionaires in the United States right now, and $1 billion, just one, is enough to pay for $3,500 per month, which is a pretty good, monthly income to me, for 23,809.5 years. His mother-in-law doesn't have to worry about her Social Security. Not like the rest of us. Thank you for your time.
Can you repeat after me? They're not like us. Let's say that again. They are not like us. My name is Athena Jones. I am a home care chapter chair for SEIU Virginia 512, a labor movement. I also represent home care workers and adults with disabilities. I represent women, I represent children, I represent aunts and uncles, I represent people who, again, they are not like us. See, when it comes down to changing a system, we have to be willing to have the courage to change it. See, we're living in a time where people are scared to go outside, but we have to be willing to change it. We have to be willing to stand up to individuals who are scared, who say they want to align with anarchy, who are aligned with Trumpism, who want to align with things that refuse to say that the reality is we need home care workers, we need teachers, we need people who are willing to stand up for the marginalized communities. But see, they realize that they are not like us. So what they're going to do is dismantle the system. What they're going to do is undermine our voices. What they're going to do is intentionally create a system where we're too scared to go out. But this is a time to call for courage. This is a time to call when your legs feel like they want to falter. There's a time to say, greater is he that is in me, that is he that is in the world, and take those steps of courage. 8 million people in the state of Virginia. 8 million people. 635,000 of them have benefited from Medicaid expansion. If we remove Medicaid expansion, what happens? They're not like us. See, you wouldn't implement these things if they trusted that we had the courage to stand. Let me say that again. They would not have done what they did if they thought we had the courage to stand. But they were wrong. They were wrong. Let me tell you a story. See, I used to live in Florida, and in Florida, they have all sorts of creatures out there, and so I used to be scared of the geckos. And I was scared of the geckos. But I worked in a community of Haitian diaspora. And in the back of the community center, I saw this little petrified gecko. And I was like, what is going on here? And this little petrified gecko was moving along like this. And I'm like, what's moving this gecko? Ants. Ants were moving the gecko. You laugh, but the reality is, they think that they have the billions that equals the power. But if each and every one of us, as an ant, carries them along the way and moves them out of the way, where are they going? How can they stay? We're talking about changing the standard of history. Our forefathers fought for things that they are now trying to reinstitute. Segregation, injustices against women, marginalized communities. See, the catch is, the reason why you're here is because you are one person. But if you take the arm of the family members around you and you start to march and move, you take the family members who don't know how to act right, you tell them you need to straighten up and fly right, because history depends on us to be able to get this right now. History depends on it. potentially lose their jobs. Social Security could be gone. And who's going to stand up against it? Are you? Are you? See, this is the reality we have to live in. We have to get so fed up, disgusted, frustrated, to the point where we say, I refuse to, when you say something against my neighbor, your fight is my fight. See, we can't be isolationists. We can't exist in a bubble anymore because your generation is dependent on what you're doing in 2025. Let me say that again. What you do today impacts generations because that's what they're doing now. See, what they're trying to do is dismantle the United States in a way where a private equity company comes in and takes over a company and then liquidates all the assets. Guess whose assets? People over profits, y'all. It is important that we stand in a way where we've never stood before. It is important for us to have a voice in a way we have never had a voice before. For the quiet ones, stand up and shout loud. For the loud ones, bring it and stand up and shout loud because we need to make sure that this goes no farther than 2025. This moves no farther than 2025. They need to be scared of us. They need to be scared that we'll take us as ants and move those geckos out of the way. See, the billionaires don't know that our ancestors had to fight to be seen. Our ancestors had to fight to be heard. Our ancestors had to fight for equal justice under the law, and we are derived from excellence. And so now it's the time for us to move this nation in the direction to which we need to move them. Because if we don't, we will fail. And we can't afford that. Be strong, everyone, because it's time for the geckos to move out of the way and for the ants to rise.
That was very inspiring. Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. I'm Greg Florence. I'm a retired naval officer, current federal employee. And I'll try to make this quick. Had a lot to say. I've never been very political, or was not until January 6th. And that really kind of galvanized me. I'm either a Democrat or Republican. I'm a constitutionalist and an institutionalist. And if Jen Kiggans was here today, first I would thank her because being a congresswoman is a very hard job. Being a congressperson, I would also thank you for her staff. Very few people are paid less for as much work as congressional staffers do, and I'm thankful that you're here. I'm thankful for the fact that Congresswoman Kiggans stood against her party in voting against Jim Jordan for Speaker. I'm thankful that she voted for every funding bill in the last Congress. I'm thankful for her support of Ukraine. She was here today, though. I would tell her some things, like I would tell her that her hypocrisy regarding the immigration, the fact that she promised that she would fix immigration and border security, and yet her first vote in Congress was to defund the IRS, an act that was going to raise the budget deficit by $110 billion over 10 years, even though she was also told us she was there to fight the deficit. I would ask her about why she signed a letter impugning Governor Walz's stolen valor as a retired naval officer, because to the best of my knowledge, she's not a retired naval officer. I would ask her why she consistently used the deaths of service members in Afghanistan and Jordan to make political points on behalf of herself and her party. But most of all, I would ask her what she thinks about her oath to the Constitution. As former Congresswoman Adam Kinzinger so often says, a congressperson's oath is not to their constituents. It's not to me, it's not to any of you, it's not to their political party, it is to the Constitution of the United States of America. And there is nothing that is under more threat than the Constitution today. We have a party in power that is intent on destroying the institutions that have made this country great. We're firing people, and we're having, if you want to talk about deep state working in the federal government, we've had probationary employees fired. They get a letter from some office out of Washington, D.C., nameless, faceless, deep state bureaucrats in this administration who have told them that the reason they're being fired is because of their poor performance, when in fact, every single performance review they have had has been exemplary. And that is just wrong, and that is evil, and that cannot be stood for. Yet Jen Kiggans remains silent on that. She remains silent when Elon Musk calls Mark Kelly, a senator, a naval officer, an astronaut, a traitor because he went to Ukraine. She remains silent when our president cozies up to Russia. When our president says that we should annex Canada, a country that has shed blood and treasure on our behalf and that has always been a friend to this country, I don't understand it. And so what I really wanted to say, in addition to asking Jen Kiggans all these questions, is also to say that we need to continue to speak out. If you read anything about, I'm a former naval intelligence officer, anything about how democracies fail and fall, it's because people let it happen. And it's just so amazing and wonderful that we were all here to speak out. We need to continue to do that. And I see in our future, when we see this Alien Enemies Act used, there's a report coming out on April 20th from the Department of Defense and Department of Homeland Security. It was part of one of the executive orders that will make a recommendation to the President on whether to invoke the Insurrection Act to deal with the immigration problem. I'm seeing things come out of DOD that put immigration enforcement and public safety on a par with national security for the Department of Defense. So I'm very concerned, very worried that the military is going to get caught up in this autocratic movement of our government and will be used not only against immigrants, but against their fellow citizens. And I think we need to continue to speak out and resist against that. And I just appreciate you all here to do that and support democracy in America and our republic. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Michelle Hughes, a registered nurse, advanced practice degree, and to Jen Kiggans, I would like to ask one question of her. When you invoke your dedication to the health services of the Eastern Shore, you certainly understand that by dismantling Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, that health clinic will disappear. That is the only access that the folks on the Eastern Shore, the southern tip of the Eastern Shore, has to health care. I have been in practice for 50 years, and 48 of those I have spent in the operating room. And I want to know why Jen Kiggans has never been in the OR with me at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm taking care of a person who has been attacked and in need of impending reproductive health care. And to her aides, my name is spelled with one L, not two. One L, not two. I am the daughter of an Air Force veteran of 20 years. I am the wife of a Navy veteran for 20 years. And I, Jen Kiggans, have done my time in service. So when you come after Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, and retirements that duly served veterans have achieved and are their benefits, you come after their spouses too. Because, Jen, I've done my time. So in closing, I just want to say, if we allow Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security to go by the wayside because they want to privatize it, and we need to understand that the government works for the people at a zero profit margin. Zero profit margin. We're not in this, the government is not in this to make a dollar. So Jen, you work for the people. You do not work for Elon Musk. You do not work for Donald. And you serve the Constitution of the United States of America.
Hi, y'all. After hearing Mrs. Tagliaferro's testimony, I just had to say something. See, I'm a heart transplant survivor, and if it wasn't for Medicaid, I wouldn't be here right now, because I could not afford that $1.5 million surgery that they had to do. And now I'm on these drugs, immunosuppressive drugs, that keep my heart from rejecting the transplant. But without the Medicaid, I can't afford those. So she's pretty much given me a death sentence. Not only me, but everybody who's ever had a transplant, kidney transplant, anything. Those drugs are so expensive that I don't know what to do. I mean, I need them to survive. So, thanks, Jen Kiggans.
My name is Rabbi Ellen Jaffe Gill. I live here in Virginia Beach. Jen Kiggans is my member of Congress. I am here to call out, as did the speaker earlier, her hypocrisy, especially her religious hypocrisy. Jen Kiggans was elected in 2022 as an evangelical Christian. There is nothing Christian about her. There is nothing Christian about the entire Republican Party. With very few exceptions, because the answer to the question, what would Jesus do, is exactly the opposite of what the Republican Party is doing. And Jen Kiggans is part of that slight majority. How do you sleep at night? What do you see when you look in the mirror, Jen? Another thing I've come to talk about is the complete lack of consideration that any, including Jen, that any of our representatives and our Republican senators have for you, for the people who are sitting here. And I tell you right now that I listened to Cabinet Member Lutnick last night, and if I know exactly when the Social Security payment drops into our bank account. Social Security that, by the way, my husband and I signed up for only last year when we turned 70. Partly to max out, but partly to save the country some money that we didn't need until now. So Lutnick is saying, we won't even notice. I am here to tell you that I know exactly what day of the month, the 18th, those payments are supposed to drop. And if they don't, my husband will be on the phone, and I will be in front of the Social Security Administration on March 20th. Believe it. Thank you for being here. The third thing I have to say is the time for being nice is over. There are times to be nice. There are times to be nice when we are listening with both ears to someone who doesn't agree with us, to those clueless masses who believe everything the Orange Menace and Elon Musk and the Republican parts of Congress and the Republican cabinet members have to say to them. The true believers, when they say something unfactual, yes, it's our responsibility to correct them, but we must also do so gently in a way that makes them feel heard. But the time to be nice to people like her, it's over. My mother always told me, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. There's a time and a place for that, but we don't have time for that now. Please continue to show up, but please continue to also challenge, to take on people who don't agree with you nicely, and to remain a peaceful, angry people.
Thank you for being here, everybody. My name is Dr. Elizabeth Willoughby, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the Director of Primary Care and the Associate Medical Director for the Virginia League of Planned Parenthood. And I'm here today as a family medicine physician because our patients need us. They need us not just in the exam room, but in spaces like this, when the Medicaid that they rely on is being threatened by our government, the people who are supposed to be working for us. Many of the people I care for at Planned Parenthood rely on Medicaid to stay healthy, and this includes access to reproductive health care, because reproductive health care is essential health care. At VLPP, we offer comprehensive, compassionate care for everyone who walks through our doors, whether that's for a routine checkup, managing chronic conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, and mental health issues, or reproductive health services. We provide family planning, birth control, vasectomies, essential screenings, and prenatal care, all while ensuring that no one faces stigma or judgment for their choices. We believe that reproductive health care is an essential, fundamental part of overall well-being, and we're proud to offer these services alongside our primary care. I've seen firsthand every single day how vital both Medicaid and the federal grants our patients rely on to be able to access these critical health care services are. And I'd like to share just a few of their stories. One patient I saw recently is a non-binary individual in their early 20s who usually sees us just for birth control. But they weren't due for their depot the day that I saw them. That morning, they had found a lump in one of their breasts and were able to schedule a same-day appointment to be seen. They have family members who've died from breast cancer, and they were almost in tears when I walked in the room. Their Medicaid is what allowed them to get both the appointment they needed with me so that I could reassure them that their exam was pretty safe, and also to get the imaging they needed to make sure that this lump is not cancerous. Another patient I saw just a few weeks ago had a miscarriage 2 months ago. She and her husband have been trying to conceive a very wanted child since last year, and she was so excited, but also so scared when she saw those 2 blue lines again on a pregnancy test. She called her regular OB office, but they didn't have an ultrasound appointment available for another 3 weeks. I think we can all feel that. Every single time we try to get into the doctor, we can't get there, can we? Thankfully, she was able to get in with VLPP in a visit covered by her Medicaid. We were able to confirm her healthy pregnancy with testing and an ultrasound, along with providing her prenatal counseling so she can stay healthy until she's able to be seen at her regular OB office. Another patient I recently saw came in for an annual exam. We were able to complete cervical cancer screening, order a mammogram for breast cancer screening, check her blood pressure, provide a flu vaccine and a tetanus vaccine, and complete the recommended blood work and wellness counseling for someone of her age and gender. That blood work picked up prediabetes. So she has a primary care appointment coming up for us to discuss how she can make sure that her prediabetes doesn't progress any further. Without a federal grant to cover the cost of her appointment, she wouldn't have been able to afford her visit or any of those vital screenings. Last one, I promise. Another patient I saw recently came in after 3 weeks of excessively heavy menstrual bleeding. She was feeling fatigued, she looked a little pale, and she was lightheaded if she stood up too fast. At her appointment, we were able to complete a point-of-care test right in the office to determine if she had dangerously low hemoglobin levels. She was pretty anemic, but thankfully not to the point that she needed a blood transfusion. We were not only able to prescribe her medicine to stop the bleeding in just 2 days, but we've also scheduled an appointment for a week from now to help her figure out why she had this dangerous and potentially life-threatening bleeding. And these stories are not unique. So many in our community rely on Planned Parenthood, not only for routine medical care, but also for the reproductive health services they need to make informed, safe, and personal choices. Without access to these services, our patients face unimaginable hardship, and it's crucial that we continue to protect their ability to access the care they deserve. And that's why we're here today, to stand up for our patients and ensure that they continue to have access to the full spectrum of healthcare, including reproductive healthcare. Thank you all for being here and supporting this incredibly important cause.
Hello everyone, my name is Paige Woodson Thornton. I've called Jen Kiggans' office so many times they know who I am. My question for Mrs. Higgins today is, where is the oversight? You promised it. Where's the oversight when the administration is ignoring court rulings? Where's the oversight when a Venezuelan soccer star is deported to El Salvador because he has a tattoo? He had no recourse in court. No. Where your oversight when Musk marches in to Social Security and says, I want the files. I want to see who is getting it, and claims there's millions of people who are fraudulent and on those rolls, when there isn't. Where's the oversight when Trump takes away intelligence to Ukraine? When the administration turns its back on its allies? I'm a retired senior. I'm worried about Social Security too, and that was one of the things I wrote to Jen Kiggans about right away. And I got a response from February 21st. And she says, thank you for reaching out regarding Social Security. I welcome your thoughts on this matter and appreciate the opportunity to respond. Like you, I know that Social Security is vitally important to America's seniors who have spent their lives working hard and paying into the system.
Where she get that out of a can?
As a geriatric nurse practitioner, I have worked with older Americans and understand how important the program is to them and their well-being. I will continue to prioritize the needs of our seniors by protecting Social Security. Well, where are you now? Where's the oversight? I worked for 33 years in the transportation industry, international trade actually. Our company shipped goods overseas. We also cleared goods that were being imported into the country from other countries. These tariffs, they're not a tax. They're not a tax on the other country. We call them duties because every importer that employed us to clear their goods through customs paid duties to the government. And what did they do when they got their goods? They passed on that cost to the consumers. Don't be fooled. And why do we have a 25% tariff on Canada, who has been with us through thick and thin, who is our closest ally, our neighbor, and our brother? I want to thank everybody who's here today, and thank you for standing up for what's right. We can't let fascism take over our government. And that's what's happening.
Good afternoon. My name is Justin Burns, and before I begin, I just want to quote this sign that's over there that says, "There was no mandate to wreck our country." And I am sure that the millions of Americans that did participate in this election did not ask for any of what we're seeing and witnessing and feeling. So there was no mandate to dismantle our government, the institutions and norms that we rely on. My name is Justin Burns again. I am a proud product of Virginia Beach City Public Schools. I am also a proud third grade educator at Newtown Elementary School. And believe me, I know I look young, but I am an educator. And I'm also running for the House of Delegates in Virginia's 100th District as a Democrat. And just to point out, my high school special ed teacher, Mr. Winfred Ridley, I met him here today. We were able to reconnect. So he was part of the influence in me becoming an educator. I never thought that I'd be here asking the question, where is our elected member of Congress? In a representative democracy, our elected official is responsible and accountable to us, which, in other words, to make it simple, they work for us. As an educator, I'm concerned about our children and our children's future. And as a SPED inclusion teacher, I work with kids who have disability, a range of disabilities from mild to moderate and severe. And I'm concerned about their future, and I wonder, what type of future are we leaving them to inherit? Are we leaving them a future where clean air and drinking water isn't just a talking point, but a reality? Are we leaving them a future where education, which is their right to an education, is prioritized as such and not a privilege? Are we leaving them a future where we're providing economic opportunities for them to come back in the communities that raised them so that they can contribute to the communities, expand the tax base, and build their families here? I feel that we're not doing enough. Our elected officials aren't doing enough. And that's why I'm running. We can't settle for the bare minimum. And so when we have elected officials like Jen Kiggans who promise great things and then can't show up for a town hall or be responsive to her constituents, we must hold her accountable come 2026. We must continue to advocate for the issues that matter. I've traveled up and down the district, which includes the Eastern Shore and Northwestern Virginia Beach. And people are concerned. They're concerned about all that's happening with education, with healthcare, with Social Security, the environment. They are concerned. And they're right to be concerned with everything that we're witnessing. And it's definitely a cause for us to feel overwhelmed and really down and sad, but we have to continue to energize and stay mobilized and be vigilant about all that is happening, because our voice is our vote. And when they try to silence our voice by not holding town halls, by giving us canned response emails, by thinking that we're the dumb ones and that the joke is on us because we're not seeing through the BS that they're doing in Washington, they will soon feel the pain, and they will soon feel all of what we have endured under this administration and these hateful and discriminatory policies come November. Thank you.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for being here. Again, I just wanted to leave a time check. We're at about 2:36. We have a hard 3 o'clock stop. So we're gonna have about 3 more speakers. There are lots of videographers here. There are lots of people who run social channels for thousands of people here, and they want to hear from you. So if you see someone with a camera, I know my friend Joey is right down here. I've got my friend Kendall in pink over here. Please share your story with these folks as well. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Mysick. I was asked to be brief, and I shall be. First and foremost, I'd like to ask the representative for Jen Kiggans. Could you show your hand? I don't know who you are. The representative for Jen Kiggans. Raise your hand for the representative. Obviously, they don't want to do that, so that's fine. I was just going to say thank you for showing up. I wish you would identify yourself, but fair enough. But do remind yourself, I'd like to remind you, you work for us. You serve Jen, you work for us. My father was a World War II veteran. He fought fascism. I am a Navy veteran. My son is a Iraq War veteran on 100% disability because of injuries received in Iraq. 3 weeks ago, he had to be taken to the VA hospital in Cleveland because he didn't get his drugs in time from the VA because of understaffing. The pharmacy was down. The VA at that facility were down 50 people. The pharmacy was down. They couldn't get the drugs out. He had a severe drug reaction. This is the reality we're dealing with. The neighbor that I came with today, her husband is on deployment today. He expects, I expect, my son expects that we would be taken care of for the service that we and all the veterans that spoke today and the rest that are in this room, that we performed. Back when Trump did his little speech in front of Congress a few weeks ago, as people were walking in, there was a Democrat holding a sign saying, "This is not normal." There was a Republican representative from Texas, Gooden, I think is his name, that ripped that sign from her hand. When I saw that, I sent him an email on his contact form saying, "Come and rip this sign out of my hand."
Good afternoon, Congresswoman Kiggans. This is very personal. I checked so many boxes, it's not even funny. Bob was holding my sign, which sits in front of my yard. Okay? I could pass this sign to a lot of people. Congresswoman Kiggans, I am very disappointed in everything you have not done. And I'm disappointed in some of the things you have done. Like Martha, I have done 75 years around the sun, Martha, I think she said something like that. I've got 2 tours in Vietnam. I'm 80% disabled. I'm a retired Virginia Beach school teacher, tall, and Lansdowne. But I want to ask Congresswoman, why won't you look out for me? I mean, I don't want to die because I couldn't get something that I was entitled to. I want to let you know I appreciate my Social Security check, and I too know exactly when it shows up. I'd also like to say that I appreciate all of my citizens in front of me who understands what civics is. This today is a lesson in civics, and I'm thinking about sending a textbook from 6th grade to the Congresswoman so she can understand. I'm just going to try to sit down, but every time she says, and we've met, we've talked, every time she tells me she's a Navy officer, I get sick. I wore that uniform for 20 years, got shot at, blown up, and everything else, and she is doing this to me? No. I was also a chief for a little while before I got promotion. I'm going to stop. Everybody, be nice, be angry, be articulate.
My name is Amanda Berg. I was originally asked by Planned Parenthood to come and speak on their behalf. The time I've been here has been overwhelming so far because in every way, form, or fashion, I feel like I can understand everyone who's here. I am a current nursing student. I have been in the healthcare profession for almost 15 years now. I am a daughter of a Vietnam veteran, as well as a teacher in the Hampton Roads area for almost 30 years. I also am the mother, single mother of a 9-year-old autistic Haitian son. There's been plenty of times while I'm sitting here trying to finish school that I have not been able to either afford the premiums of the insurance policy that's been provided at my job, or I made a little too much not to qualify for Medicaid to get basic care. Plenty of times, if it wasn't for Planned Parenthood, I wouldn't have been able to get just regular pap smears, breast exams. Come from a family who has a lot of female-related cancers. Thankfully, I've always gotten the quality care from Planned Parenthood. Also, if it wasn't for Medicaid, my son would not have been able to receive a lot of the services, whether it be from the public school system or outpatient therapies that were covered by Medicaid. My son used to not speak. He may be 9 years old now and only speaking at the level of a 4-year-old, but he is talking. Thanks to all those teachers in the public school system and the special education program, as well as all the outpatient therapies I would not have been able to afford without Medicaid. I hate waking up every day, being still as young as I am, and worried about the safety of my son when it comes to his education, how he is viewed as a man when he gets older, and then the safety and education of his peers. He is on an IEP. He has not been able to, thus far, been integrated into just a regular classroom. He has to be in a special education classroom. He speaks now. He speaks. That's something I never thought would be possible. And now I'm worried that he will not get those services through the public school system because what is being done to the Department of Education. It's ridiculous. In the medical field, there's the creed called above all, do no harm. Everything that this administration is doing to everyone in our society is harmful in every way, form, or fashion. And it needs to be stopped. No longer can continue to just ignore, and I was guilty of that at some point because it was just so overwhelming, so easy to just not turn on the television or look at a newspaper or even look at the stuff that you see on Facebook. I would just shield myself out from it for so long, but I can't do that anymore. Even if it wasn't for me and what I believe in being in the medical field, just looking at my child every day, I want to know that when I leave this planet, he is going to be all right. Every other special needs and disabled person is going to be all right, is going to be taken care of, receive the treatment they need. Every veteran is going to be seen in a timely manner and get the health care and the medications that they need. Thank you.
Thank you guys for being here and thank you for showing up. My name is Sparkle Edwards. I am a representative of SEIU, Virginia 512. I'm a little overdressed because I rushed here from another event and I did not have time to change my clothes. I'm not running for anybody's office. But just to share a little bit of who I am and why I'm here, I have a relative who relies on Medicare and Medicaid funded care due to a stroke he had. Outside of being his caregiver, I have 20 years of healthcare experience. I specifically work with Medicaid and Medicare populations within the state of Virginia. So what I'm not gonna do is repeat a lot of things that have been said here today. I don't wanna repeat a lot of the talking points. But one thing that I wanna stress on is with the talks of cutting Medicaid to save money, one aspect that I have not heard them talk about was the cost of prescription drugs. A lot of the billing that goes to Medicaid and Medicare comes from the pharmaceutical companies. When are they gonna talk about that? You wanna save money on the billing? Cut the cost of the prescription and you will save a ton of money for citizens. Outside of cutting the cost of Medicaid, if you cut funding, specifically in the state of Virginia, we have a lot of providers who bill Medicaid as their form of employment. With the loss of Medicaid, that means jobs in Virginia are gonna be lost, companies are gonna close, families are gonna be without means of income. That also means that it's taken away revenue from the state of Virginia because employment generates revenue through our Department of Taxation within the state of Virginia. So that means we are going to be operating in the red as opposed to operating in the black. So I expect our sworn legislators, the one that we put in position to vote on with regard to our best interests, to take notice that not only are you hurting the nation, but here in Virginia, you'll be hurting and impacting millions of Virginians by cutting off Medicaid funding, by denying them access to health care, by shutting down nursing homes, by cutting off needed care to those that are not just in the hospital systems, not just in the community-based organizations, but those who rely on Medicaid for mental health care, those who rely on Medicaid to pay for durable medical equipment because they cannot pay for those things out of pocket. So today I'm urging those that are in the position and the power to do so to please say no to Medicaid cuts.
Hello, I'm Kimberly, and this is my son, Austin. I will keep it short. On Tuesday, Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives narrowly passed a budget calling for $880 billion in cuts, which would impact Medicaid. If it makes it in the final budget deal, these cuts would completely disenroll nearly 2 million Virginians that rely on Medicaid for health care. Even a 1% reduction in funding from the federal government for Medicaid expansion would lead to our most vulnerable people like my son losing access to health care. Try to get through this without crying. My son was 16 when he was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, primary progressive MS, and he has lesions on his brain and on his brain stem, and he relies on a medication that literally to live, because he has lesions on his brainstem and spine. The brainstem controls your heartbeat and your breathing, things that we don't think about. And the medication stops him from getting another lesion on his brain. So literally without this medication, it is sentencing him to a very terrible fate. And he would get another lesion on his brain. And so he relies on Medicaid to provide that essential infusion medication so that his heart doesn't stop and his breathing doesn't stop. I'm not here as a Democrat or as a Republican. I'm here as a mom, and I'm here because he is my entire life. I'm begging Jim Kiggans and other lawmakers to consider him and the thousands of other people here in Virginia who are at her mercy. We are asking Jim Kiggans to insist that Virginians, most vulnerable people, are not forgotten. Thank you. We're asking Jen Kiggans to insist that Virginians' most vulnerable people like my son are not forgotten in their budget. We're asking her to remember her oath to the Constitution and to the American people and to stand up for what's right. I'm asking her, where is her conscience? I was up in D.C. recently, and Donald Trump was asking that all the homeless people be removed from around D.C. because they were an eyesore. He didn't want his rich people from other countries coming and seeing all of the homeless people scattered about. I'm just wondering how he's going to feel if Medicaid is cut off and all of our sickest and poorest people all the people, amputees, all the other individuals that are ill, how is he going to feel when they go to DC and spread out across the Capitol? He is my most precious thing that I have, and I am just asking her, as a mother, you would think she could understand. As a nurse, you would think she could understand. And as a human being, you would think she would understand. Thank you.
Thank you to all of our storytellers today. Wow, I wasn't expecting such a big turnout. This is incredible to see everybody so fired up. It's been incredible hearing so many stories and how everybody in our community is affected by all of these important issues. If everybody could just do me a favor real quick and stand up if you are an unpaid protester, unpaid. That's what I thought, that's what I thought. Okay, just want the Kiggans people to take note. Maybe get a picture of all these unpaid protesters here today. Thank you all for being here. If you didn't sign up to be here today, I'm gonna take a picture.